always talk about Sonic when I talk about Sega, you know. It's been known to happen that I talk about other things because Sega does more than Sonic, even if they may have forgotten that themselves. I didn't. I did do a Vector Man review years ago. So, I do acknowledge that there are other series in the Sega library, and heck, I did a micro review of Golden Axe. That being said, one series that I happen to love and I have not talked about is Ecco the Dolphin. Go figure. And it's easy to understand why, and by that I mean it's not easy to understand why. I don't know, it's just one of those things I haven't talked about because it never came up. I did do a stream of Ecco the Time once. That was fun. Went all the way through it, people liked it. I mean, you know, it was a thing I did. Anyway, let's talk about the Ecco the Dolphin series, because we're here, and dolphins, and the ocean, swimming around at the speed of oh no, wrong series.
Makes me question why!
So, like most things, we're gonna start at the beginning and work our way forward, like a logical person. Ecco the Dolphin was released for the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive if you're European or anywhere but America. If you're un-American. If you're un-American and watching this, it's called the Mega Drive, I know. But here we call it the Genesis because trademark issues. And for no other reason. Whatever. You know what I meant, okay? Ecco the Dolphin. You are a dolphin named Ecco and you swim. It's actually way more complicated than that. So I'll start with the plot because yes, there is a story here and this plot is insane. So Ecco is a normal dolphin set on an alternate Earth, and the Earth gets invaded by the Vortex aliens, led by the Vortex Queen. They kidnap Ecco's pod because dolphins are delicious and delectable, and Ecco has to go on a journey to stop the Vortex aliens from taking over the world and save his family. So already, it's kind of heavy for a game about a dolphin. I mean, you do flips and stuff. This looks like a fun kiddie game. No, this stuff is serious business. There are alien invaders, and the only thing that can stop them is a magical dolphin with stars on his head. Things are getting real and edgy. Vortex. So the controls for Ecco are a little bit interesting. You rotate yourself around a 2D plane with the D-pad, then you use the C button to speed up, you use the B button to charge, which is used for an attack, and then you use the A button to use your sonar, which is used to communicate, and if you hold it down, you can also use it to bring up a map. So that's neat. Ecco is a weird game. You'd be forgiven for assuming it's just all about looking around and just swimming through the ocean, you know, but there's so much thinking that goes into Ecco. It's one of the most obnoxious puzzlers you will ever play in your life, and I use obnoxious positively here. It reminds me a bit of the old Tomb Raider games. Things are very cryptic in Ecco, and it's not about combat, it's about thinking and figuring out, okay, what do I do? And not all puzzles are really concrete. I mean, early on, one of the first puzzles you walk into, or swim into, right, sorry, dolphin, I forgot, in Ecco, is you gotta push this shell into these boulders, and apparently this shell is harder than the boulders and can break the boulders. Now, I don't understand how that works, but follow me on this, okay? It's a thing that you do, and there's lots of puzzles like that. Visually, the game was quite good for the time, and the idea of playing a game in an undersea environment was fairly new. I mean, you didn't really get games that were entirely set underwater. It gave the developers, you know, a really good medium to try to show off what the Genesis was capable of, and it also made the game look distinctive overall. Naturally, there's enemies in the game, evil sharks, evil octopuses, spikes, also your own air meter, because if you paid attention in your science classes, or watched either this guy or maybe these guys, as a kid, you'd know that dolphins are undersea mammals, and therefore do not have gills. So you have to surface for air. It's something else to worry about. It's another element to the game. You have to keep an eye on two different meters, your health meter and your air meter, all the time. The thing about the first Ecco game is that it's hard. Like, legitimately difficult. As juvenile as you may believe the games are, these are not easy games in any way. Even if you're having trouble with a puzzle, just swimming around and even doing flips and stuff, it's an enjoyable experience. It's very soothing and relaxing. The music is top-notch, and it is still a fun game to play even now. So naturally, with a game like that, a cryptic game where you play as a magical dolphin, what do? You make a sequel. Ecco the Dolphin, The Tides of Time. And yo, This game rocks. This is my favorite Ecco game by far, and maybe I'm a bit biased because this is the one I played mostly as a kid, but man, they really upscaled everything about the first game and just took it to the next level. To begin with, the game looks even better, and the music is amazing. This is actually one of the best soundtracks on the Sega Genesis as far as I'm concerned, right up there with Streets of Rage 2. The controls are pretty much the same. I don't really have any issues with the controls in either game for that matter. The plot is again centered around the Vortex aliens showing back up again and you have to go stop them, but this time, there's time travel! You have to swim through the tides of time! And they really experimented here with what Ecco could do. They gave him the ability to transform through certain parts and you can become a bird. Don't you want to be a bird? Flap, flap! Birdie, birdie, tweet, tweet! You get knocked down by seagulls. It's rude. They also added this 3D element to the game. Certain parts involve passing through these warp rings to get you to travel great distances, and it's actually a really interesting concept. And again, it looks great visually on the Genesis, and it's actually a lot of fun. Half the fun of Tides of Time, as far as I'm concerned, is exploring all the different environments. They really took it to the next level with the exploration element. It's actually a lot of fun to look around. In Tides of Time, you don't start out with the air meter, because in the first Ecco gained special powers to make himself super strong, and he could breathe underwater all of a sudden. But then he loses those powers, so suddenly you're back to square one, because apparently this game went full Metroid on us when it comes to losing all the power-ups you got. So that's neat. Going along with the level variety is actually far more hazards than you originally had. I mean, there's this Sky 2 level with this auto-scroll. I mean, and you'd be forgiven for dying here, because you will. It's going to happen. It's a challenge to get through this part. And that's not even talking about the puzzles in this game. I feel like the puzzles in Ecco Tides of Time are less cryptic, but still just as difficult, if that makes any sense. I think it's easier to know what you have to do, but not as easy to know how to do it. Like, for example, one bit, you have to push a stone to break other stones, which I know sounds simple, but again, it's less cryptic because it makes sense that you would push a stone to, you know, break those stones, as opposed to a shell. I still don't get the shell thing. But then when you push it down, you have to push it forward to break other stones. You don't quite know how to get it over there. You realize you actually have to boost into it to knock it over. Now it sounds dirt simple, but when you're actually playing the game, it doesn't even occur to you to do something like that. At least not without trial and error. But these games get dark, man. Like, seriously, full-on Ridley Scott on us. Like, that's what the Vortex screen looks like. What the heck is that? That's horrifying! That's not even mentioning her offspring, her Justice. Like, listen, I did not expect to fight Cthulhu monsters in my Happy Dolphin game, yet here we are! But I cannot get over how good the Tides of Time is. I just think it's like the quintessential Ecco game. You know, so if you're gonna play any Ecco game and you can only pick one, absolutely go with the Tides of Time. It's well worth it. If you're interested in cryptic puzzlers that make you think, that are mentally stimulating, this is the kind of experience that Ecco is going to give you. Now, before I move on to the last Ecco game that was ever made, we need to discuss the Ecco Jr. games. Ecco Jr. is a spin-off game. It's not at all part of the main series, at least not directly. You play as Ecco, but it's Ecco Jr., whether it's a young Ecco or Ecco's kid, I don't actually know for sure. What I know is that these games were designed as edutainment games. They're not designed to be difficult, and they're designed for very young children to be mentally stimulated. The puzzles are dirt simple, mostly involving finding friends underwater by searching around using your sonar. It's a little bit of fun, but you know, it's definitely nothing too challenging for an adult gamer. It's a cute game. That's actually the best word I can come up with. The game is adorable. The sprite work is cute, the game is cute, you can't die or anything, the animations are cute. I mean, it's just a cute little game for little kids. And from that perspective, you can't really complain about it. It's not meant for hardcore Ecco fans who want a big challenge with the Vortex screen and the aliens that want to devour your soul. It's about, let's go hang out with friends and swim in the water and do flips. There was also an Ecco Jr. game put out for the Sega Pico. What's that? Well, it's a Sega console that I had never even seen before, but it was another edutainment-style platform that had a bunch of edutainment-style games on it, specifically for younger kids. Hence why I have never actually owned one. And I never actually played that version of Ecco Jr., but it is considered a sequel I'm not really sure what it's like, but if it's anything like the first one, I'm sure it's a fun experience for young children. That being said, let's move on to the last game we're going to discuss. Ecco the Dolphin, Defender of the Future! Oh no. He must be here to save the future! If I didn't do it, you all would. Alright, so you might be assuming that this must be the last in the Ecco trilogy, since, you know, Tides of Time, hey, Defender of the Future. At the end of Tides of Time, Ecco goes back to the past to stop the Vortex Queen once and for all. See, the idea put forth in Tides of Time was that the Vortex Queen, after defeated, took her and her remaining forces to the past in a last-ditch effort to take over the world. What actually wound up happening is they integrated with the Earth's biology, which is actually why there's crustaceans. Those are apparently the final offspring of the original Vortex aliens way back in the day. But Ecco's thought is that the Vortex Queen would never do that willingly, so he has to go back and actually stop her once again to make sure the timeline stays as it is. So you think that this would be a great game, that Ecco would go back in time, maybe meet with some ancient underwater creatures, maybe fight a megalodon or two, you know, whatever. Defender of the Future's a reboot. The sequel to Tides of Time was scrapped. I don't know, maybe the sequel was going to be a bit too ambitious and they wanted to bring it back to square one. In their defense, they put a lot of money into this game, and they even hired a professional science fiction author to write the plot named David Brin, who had actually already written some stories about intelligent dolphins in his Uplift series. So, go figure. I mean, I guess I get the reasoning that, you know, it was a big, ambitious title, but you were trying to sell a new platform. This was a Dreamcast game. The Saturn never saw an Ecco game because the Saturn didn't like getting games from their known IPs. It liked getting games from lesser known IPs or brand new IPs, which didn't help sell the platform because nobody cared about the new IPs no matter how good they were. I mean, the Saturn never got an original Sonic game with the exception of Sonic R, which we don't talk about. It never got an Ecco game, and it never got a Vector Man game for that matter. It had good games, but they weren't instinctively recognizable like Sonic and Ecco and Vector Man would have been. That being said, the Dreamcast did get an Ecco game, Defender of the Future, as I already said, which is a reboot, but whatever. Also, the plot centers around aliens taking over the world, and Ecco has to stop them. And you might recognize this as literally the same story. Close enough to the point that, listen, just make it a retelling of the original Ecco if that's how you're going to be about it. I don't see the need to even reboot it at that point if you're not going to change that much. This is like the DMC reboot all over again. I mean, let's be realistic. That story was not all that different from the original Devil May Cry, so why even bother? Anyway, let's go back. Let's go back to basics. I'm done complaining about the story and the reboot nonsense. How's the game? The game is awesome. Yo, this game is great though. I mean, unnecessary reboot aside, this is a fun, interesting, gorgeous game for the Sega Dreamcast. Some may argue that Sonic's transition to 3D wasn't exactly ideal and it was kind of rough, but Ecco's is damn near perfect. It feels just like the original Ecco games, but with the third dimension added. The environments are gorgeous and fun to explore, and the puzzles are just as cryptic as ever. It is quintessential Ecco gameplay. It is exactly the kind of sequel we could have asked for. Whether or not it's a reboot, from a gameplay perspective, I love it. Communicating with other whales and other dolphins is still just like it always was, and it's a ton of fun. Swimming through different environments, fighting sharks, controlling schools of fish, and having turtles follow you around, dealing with a great white shark that wants to eat your face. I mean, hey, that's Ecco. This is awesome. Which is why the game didn't sell well at all. Of course, this has always happened. Why? Why you no buy game? Why are you like this? Oh, it's because it's an Ecco game, isn't it? Oh, no, dolphins are juvenile. You know what's really funny about that, though? The Ecco series is probably one of the hardest game series I have ever played. I mean, in terms of thinking and using your brain and getting through the cryptic nonsense and even trying to survive when you're running low on air and you're in a deep sea cave. I mean, there's so much going on with the Ecco games when it comes to this. They are challenging. They are good, they are fun, they are mentally stimulating, and yet people seem to think that they're juvenile and they're old hat. But you want to talk about how good you are at the hardcore, super serious Dark Souls game. Oh, but Ecco, that's kiddie. Listen up, you little internet viewers. If you want to sit there and brag about your Dark Souls gameplay, that's fine, good for you. I'm sure you're like top tier at whatever game you think you're great at. But until you come to me and say you have played and beaten every single Ecco game without a walkthrough, using your brain like I'm a mature adult who plays games with happy dolphins in them, you are not on my level. To each their own, I suppose, and I can kind of understand why Ecco wouldn't be eye-catching in today's video game market. In fact, this brings me to another point of whether or not we're ever going to see another Ecco game. Because the idea that Sega doesn't make sequels to their IPs that aren't named Sonic the Hedgehog isn't necessarily true. They have done it before, it's just every time they've done it, it's been awful. Like, this was awful, and this was also awful. And I don't really want them to ruin Ecco, because Ecco is immaculate as a series. All the games are good. And part of me wants them to leave it alone if they aren't gonna do it right. I don't want them to just throw out a half-baked sequel and be like, look, it's a new Ecco game. And it's like, listen, you can't just throw it out there and make it bad, okay? You need to actually try. And I don't know whether I trust you to try at this point. And then how do you market that? We're talking about a video game market that's all about Battle Royale and multiplayer and Call of Duty and Dark Souls hardcore. The edge factor is unreal, which I concede would appeal to me, but I am so edgy that I've gone full circle, and I'm like, the real edge is in the Happy Dolphin game. That's right, I'm hardcore. So I doubt we'd ever see another Ecco game. I wish we would, to the point that I have myself gone out of my way. As some of you may know, I am a published author. I may have written a synopsis for a sequel to The Tides of Time, because I really think that'd be great. I mean, you know, the undersea adventure is awesome, but what about a prehistoric undersea adventure like the ending to The Tides of Time set up? What about seeing like Leoplorodons and plesiosaurs? And you know, like, I don't even care if they were millions of years apart. Like, throw a megalodon in there. You know, giant sharks. It would be fun. It would be cool. It would be an experience that only I would like and nobody else would, and I completely acknowledge that problem. But hey, if Sega ever decides that, you know, I have a script already written, and I'll gladly sell it to you. Starting bid is $10 billion. And I want commission. So with that, till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell. Hey guys, thanks for watching. You gonna click the links? Are you gonna subscribe? Or are you gonna sit there and just keep watching me and be like, I don't know if I can subscribe to this guy. His edge a little too much for me. It's too dark. And the dolphins. Too happiness. Happy edge. Happy edge. That's not even a thing. What am I talking about? Just hit the subscribe and like button. Just do it. I told you to. And that's how it works on YouTube. You tell people to do it, they're supposed to do it. I think. I don't know. But you don't have to do it. It's okay. I'm not yelling at you. If you didn't like the video, I'm sorry. I tried, you know, but I don't want, you know, if I'm not your thing, that's great. I hope you find what you're looking for. You know, there's plenty of other people down there on the browse bar that I'm sure you would also like in your recommended videos. Give it a watch. But if you liked me, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, hit that like button, and leave a comment, because YouTube Senpai, notice me.